Good evening, and welcome to another exciting show. Now, I hope you can hear us. This was literally a last minute idea by Nathan and Steve. I've just sent them a link to the studio, and I've been rushing against time to get this started because what's happened is. We're on.
Hello.
Greetings.
Nathan's just filling his face with food.
Well, I haven't had time to advertise this, but we got Mark Anthony. He's very keen in chat, and I might have to sort of go a bit silent whilst I advertise this because
All right.
there's no
No
adverts.
worries.
It's all gone out, and my bloody computer went on a go slow before it started. You see, so
All right, yeah.
I couldn't get onto Telegram. I sent it through your email, and Nathan, I was just about to phone you. I cancelled the call when it came on. So if you and Nathan want to speak between yourselves for a while, and I'll start advertising the show everywhere because
That's
people won't
fine,
know.
yeah. That's not
Is
a
there
bother, mate.
As I've really rushed against time, actually, I could have done with another quarter of an hour.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah, by all
But we
means.
got Mark Anthony with us. You know Mark Anthony? Here he
Hi,
is.
Mark.
Here he is. Now, I don't know whether I can advertise the show whilst it's running. So that's going to be quite interesting to see whether I can actually do that.
Yeah,
So
no.
if you excuse me for a while, I'll turn my camera up and I'll give it a try. Is Nathan there with you?
He's just coming,
Ah,
so he'll not be a second.
you can see it's ad hoc. Did you have a very nice? I hear you. I saw it pop up on Telegram. Mark Anthony said he saw it pop up on Telegram. Yes,
Oh,
I
yeah.
promoted it on
Yeah.
Telegram, but I didn't promote it anywhere else. So that's the reason why we're building up though quite an audience
Oh, well,
now.
this is promising.
So when Nathan joins you, I'll just flick my camera off and I'll do some work behind the scenes to try and get
Yeah.
some more people on. But I believe you was on a beach overnight. having
We've done a
kip.
solstice thing last night, yeah. So we're pretty tired, I think, the pair of us.
I am as well, and the thing is, the trouble is the bloody the waves just don't keep quiet. You keep telling it to be quiet, and there's. But did I tell you? I think I told you. My mum and dad, when they first got married, slept on a beach,
Mm-hmm.
and my mother said, "Oh, when I woke up, oh, I couldn't tell you what was next to me. Oh, I'll never forget it." You see.
Okay.
Complete mystery, you see. And at my mum's funeral, my cousin said, "Perhaps it was your dad."
Dear me.
but I think so. Any guesses you see in chat what my mother woke up next to her because it was undescribable, and she sort of went, "Oh." You know, but it was something that it was a mystery until she'd taken it to the grave with her. But I think she did mention once, very quietly, to my auntie that it was a sanitary towel I used once.
Oh, wow.
So you imagine waking up and having that right staring at you.
How romantic.
But because I told you about, did Nathan tell you about when I was a kid and went to Southend?
Yeah, there's actually good.
No, I don't think
And-
so.
Yeah, and the headlines were that there was these Portuguese men of war jellyfish
Yeah.
coming up on the English shores, and that sometimes happens with the Gulf Stream and that.
Yeah.
And what happened is I was with my bucket and spade. I was 42 at the time. No, actually, I was a little toddler, and I was sort of running around the seashore. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to Southend, but
No.
the ships coming out of Tilbury, they call it Southend-on-Sea. Hello, Nathan. We're actually live. The ships coming out to sea used to empty their bilge tanks, you see, so everything washed up. And they called it Southend-on-Sea because it's just, you can see you can see Kent, the other side of the river. It's just on the river mouth. So anyway, I was there with my bucket and spade going, "Oh, look, jellyfish." Oh, my mother went absolutely ape shit. You couldn't believe. Get away from there! I think I got a clout round the backside. Come away! I want to see the jellyfish. You know what it is. Anyway, it wasn't until much later on in life I found out they were condoms.
Oh no!
Disgusting.
Oh, dear me. Were you
I
prodding
wa-
it
I
to see
wanted-
what made
Oh,
it
Harry.
tick?
Well, no, I want to have a souvenir. I want to take it home with me. I can show my mates at infant school. Look, I got one of those Portuguese men of war. Oh, look. No, it was just big.
So, a Portuguese man of war. Somebody had a massive piece of junk then, didn't they, really? I mean, them things are huge.
Well,
Yeah,
could
mate.
it be possible for you and Steve to speak between yourselves for a while? I'll switch
No.
my camera off, and I'm going to try and get the advert out to other people. I've never done this before live. I'm going to try and advertise the show whilst we're live. So please excuse me. I'll be back in a few
Before
moments.
you
okay?
go,
Yeah.
should we refrain from picking our noses
Oh,
and stuff? Is this still broadcasting while you're advertising?
Yes, you can scratch your ass, but you
right.
can't pick your nose. That's the only trouble, you know.
That's
But,
okay.
I mean, I wouldn't dream of doing it whilst I'm going live and flicking it at the screen or rubbing it down the screen is the best
Oh.
thing.
We can pick each other's
Yeah,
noses.
come on. Yeah, besides, it's no use rubbing it down the screen. Nobody say anything. You have to rub it down the camera. Like
Yeah.
that.
Well,
I'll
while
tell
you're
you
away,
something.
we'll. Yeah.
On a bus, never put your hands under the seats.
Oh,
Because-
good point. Yeah. Well, while you're away, we'll interview each other.
Oh.
That's why not? Why not? I won't be about. I can still hear you, but I've just got to advertise. You see,
Sure
I mean,
thing.
I can actually do it whilst I've got the camera on. I mean,
Yeah.
just see me going for a minute. Right, let's have a quick shifty. See if I can do this. The bloody thing's going to spend a month of my Sundays to come on, but you never know because I've got to do it in another browser. But I might be able to do it. Just see if it'll happen. We might get feedback.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. This bloody computer's going slow tonight. I don't know what's the matter with it. Ah, here we go. Right, here we go.
It's one of Billy's finest. He does like to.
Nice cup.
Oh, we look. I don't know about you, Steve.
It
I
is,
look
isn't
bloody
it?
rough today.
We are rough.
Aye. Quit.
Yeah. Well, is anybody? Well, I wonder if anyone in chat has had a late night with it being the solstice and all that. Well, we were on the beach, and
great.
Nathan will back me up here because we were there together, along with a crowd of other folk.
About 20 of us, wasn't there?
Yeah,
It's really good.
experiencing the sound bath from Daisy's Zen Den on the beach just north of Newcastle, a place called Seaton Sluice. And come the solstice, come the sunrise, about 4, in fact, it was 4:44 in the morning, 4:44, the sun up, there was a huge crowd of people. So it's a popular event, is the solstice.
I mean, I didn't expect to see that many people on the beach anyway. It was just, who goes to the beach at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch the sunrise? Apparently, lots of people.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Sunrise early in the morning. It's a bit. There's a little bit of
I thought I'd muted his mic.
Rolf Harris. No.
Can you mention his name on YouTube?
Oh bloody hell! Yeah, I just thought about that. Yeah, we never know. Right, let's have a look here.
Jake the Peg playing with his extra leg. Wonder what that could be.
Well, no. It'll be interesting to see how many people in chat stayed up for solstice.
Yeah, it's
I don't know if anybody did.
coming on in chat. This is going to be. I'm just logging on another browser onto this show to advertise it. So that's going to be quite something. I don't think it's going to do it actually. It's taken a month of Sundays to do. We'll go back to it.
Well, I was going to say, do you want to like have a look at the what you got? So
We'll have a look at chat. We've got. Oh, hang on. What's it?
Oh.
Secret Teachings. Is that your book? No.
Oh no, this
Manly
isn't.
P. Hall.
This is an old one. Manly P. Hall.
it's got a great colour scheme on it, though. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Manly P. Hall. He was a 33rd degree Freemason. Was Manly P. Hall. But he was. I mean, that's an honorary degree. It's not. It's not a. It's it's usually people with good standing in social circles, etc. who obtained the 33rd degree. But he was a very interesting bloke. And again, he wrote loads of books as well. So if anyone's interested in esoteric understanding, Manly P. Hall's a good source of reference.
Especially for this one, this was like his. Well, he would term it his magnum opus, and it had a sister volume. Occult Theocracy, I think it was called. No, I'm thinking of the wrong volume. Somebody
else.
Weston a few, wasn't he?
He actually wrote about, I forget the name of the book, but he wrote about the occult secrets or the hidden occult destiny of America or something.
Not familiar with that one. Oh, that one I recommend it to everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone should get their hands on that.
Yeah, it's not so that.
You got like a thinner volume. I mean, mine looks like that compared to it's like.
Mine's.
Curious.
I'm flicking through this book, saying it's not too big, but when you look at the print, it's like lots of print in it. So
it's almost
lots of information. Yeah.
I'm half the man that I used to be like. Right, so
we're advertising away now. Any minute now, it's gonna. I've just saved it from. We are getting feedback. It's taken a long time because it's quite a bit of work for the computer to do. But so please excuse me. Sorry about this, but it's.
Oh, we can forgive him, can't we?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Why not forgive me? By the way, that bloke Hall. It's a bit like his name wasn't Fred, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. While you're busy advertising and plugging away, well, can we say hello to folk in chat? Because
why not?
I see there's a few names popped up there, so it's nice to see. There's some guys have already started listening. That's brilliant.
Right, it's now going on to Facebook. Here we go. It's advertising now. Right, that's just gone on to Facebook, and let's have a look now. And we're going to shove it on. Come on, you bloody computer. Bleeding thing takes a month of Sundays.
Right. What's the pagan occult date for the solstice? What's the is it Lupercalia or something else?
No. Oh, you mean what's it called?
Yeah. For the solstice, the pagan date for it.
I'm lost. Well, Lupercalia is what we now know as Valentine's Day.
It's definitely not that.
No, it's definitely not.
No, chocolate.
But that's an interesting point in itself because, I don't watch the news obviously because it's just a lot of nonsense. But if you do, you can keep up to speed with all the occult rituals, the pagan rituals that are being conducted in plain sight, such as on Lupercalia. And this was going back probably about 2017, maybe before that. The something called the Arch of Baal made a worldwide visit to key places. Oh, that's it, Mark Anthony, The Secret Destiny of America. Thanks for correcting me on that.
Yep.
The Manly P. Hall book we mentioned earlier. Lupercalia was one of the dates that the Arch of Baal made a public appearance. And the Arch of Baal, by the way, was from the Palmyra Temple, which is also known as the Temple of Baal, which was in, trying to think the country, Syria, perhaps. It was the one that ISIS apparently destroyed. One of the ancient artifacts that ISIS apparently destroyed by blowing it up with some sort of bomb.
Yeah.
But this replica went on a worldwide tour. Hey, Daisy 44. Hello, Daisy 44.
Hello.
Okay, the new. Okay, the new. Hello, Daisy 44. Just advertised. It's just gone out on Facebook, X, and Uncle Tom Copley and all, Telegram, and so we should have a few more. So I'm back in the real world now, And
still.
Oh, happy days.
Well, is it happy days in the real world? I mean, it's
I don't know.
a bit problematic.
While you were advertising, we're talking about something called the Arch of Baal, a replica of the Arch of Baal from the Palmyra Temple in, I think what might have been Syria or one of Syria or Lebanon or something like that. It went on a worldwide tour and it covered, it had sort of public announcements or public appearances or unveiling on these specific pagan dates. And again, this isn't anything new. This is kind of how rituals are conducted in plain sight, because these pagan dates, if you understand them and understand the dates, you'll understand when there's some sort of ritual taking place before our very eyes. So this replica, believe it or not, I believe it was 18 foot tall, and the original was 27 foot tall or thereabouts. But when you do the mathematics behind it, and again, I might be slightly wrong with my memory of the figures, but the mathematics behind it equates to a 0.666 ratio for this artifact. And it was an archway, and as I said, they used several pagan dates, several dates in the occult calendar to unveil it. And the date it was unveiled on Trafalgar Square in London by Boris Johnson, Bojo the Clown, was the 19th of April. And I believe it was 2017. I might be slightly mistaken, but 2017, 19th of April is a date known as the Feast of Moloch. And that's another massively important date in the dark occult calendar. It was the same date that do you remember Waco, the Waco massacre?
Waco massacre. Now,
the Feast of Moloch. Also, there's several others, but one significant one was the Oklahoma bombing. And you might recall both of those events. There was sadly young children killed in both of those events, and it involved large-scale fire. The Feast of Moloch is the sacrifice of children by conflagration, which is explosions and fire, essentially.
Hang on a moment.
A bit like the Wicker Man from what you've mentioned. I mean, they used to put them inside this giant bull. Plus, that's where we get the, I suspect the brazen bull is also linked into that from the Greek scenario. Greek perspective, anyway. Plus, Moloch and Baal are pretty much the same god that they're worshipping. They just, just with the name change, same part of the world, but Moloch and Baal both bull worship, Baal worship. I don't know where they get the owl from Bohemian Grove, because I mean, apart from the fact that the owl represents seeing in the dark and operating under the shade of night. I mean, why would we, suspect that they'd use an owl instead of a bull?
Moloch's also associated with the owl. So another such, again, some of the particulars escape me or elude me, but one such instance was there was a figurine of it was a bull character, a bull man.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul. At the Colosseum in Rome, the Roman Colosseum, there was an opening and closing ceremony, both of which occurred on a pagan stroke occult dates for this grand unveiling and closing ceremony. So this is this is something that's being used and conducted all the time. But that kind of brings me on to the summer solstice. Of course, that's the longest day, and the solstice is a significant date in the occult wheel, so to speak. Yes, that's a good point, Stephen Truthseeker. Moloch is an owl and a bull simultaneously. It's the same character, depicts the same sort of archetype. So it'd be interesting to see what's been happening in the world over the summer solstice. I think one such thing that kind of has been brought to my attention recently is in RAF Bryce Norton in Oxfordshire.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you might have seen this on the news. Apparently, there was an aeroplane painted by extremists carrying a fire extinguisher full of red paint, and they managed to paint. I'm not sure if it was one or more aeroplanes, RAF planes down in Bryce Norton. But that to me is a little bit.
Same here.
Yeah.
Sorry,
How
carry
did
on,
you get
mate.
through security for one thing? I mean, that's you know.
Well, let's put it this way. Do you remember a couple of years back when we had these stupid sods gluing themselves to the road? These government paid for green protesters and all that. Well, there's a printing works not far from where I live that's just on the edge of the M25. And if you go anywhere near there, there's bleeding security cameras looking at you,
Right.
security guards. You know, you can't even fart unless the cameras go. You know, I mean, that's how security is. So how did they sort of arrange to set up like a cam and do all that? No, it was arranged to happen. And I mean, you know full well, Steve, how secure army bases are and military bases are. I think that was allowed to happen, or it's an arrangement that happened. But something that gets me, I've been watching Colonel McGregor. Have you know of him, Colonel McGregor?
He's not out of the A team, is he?
No, he's not the AIDS team. No, no. What he is ex-American colonel, and he's pretty good actually. And he reckons that Capitol Hill and it's all being paid for by a certain country we're not allowed to criticise. But there's a lot of people saying that this aircraft carrier that's going into the Mediterranean is going to be used as a false flag because it's due to be decommissioned next year because it's 50 years old. Now, they said, I was watching, I don't normally watch UK Column, but I saw a little bit of it, and they said it's due to be probably fireworks this weekend. I doubt it because I've seen where that aircraft carrier is, and I think last time I saw it is halfway across the Atlantic. And I don't know how fast aircraft carriers go, but it's got to go through the Straits of Gibraltar and straight, you know, before it can become a target. And the Israeli submarines have got to be into position. And really, I don't think there's going to be fireworks until next week at the earliest. I mean, and the other thing is the Air Force, Israeli Air Force. You're hearing conflicting terms. Some say they got air superiority over Tehran. Others, Iran rather, over it is Tehran, isn't it? The set capital. And the others say they've just about got into 8 miles across the border to bomb a border town and back again. You don't know what the first casualty of war is truth. But I very, very much doubt whether they've got air superiority. I very much doubt that. But, you know.
Hey, well, who knows?
That's right.
But we're just assuming that this is all real and all of this stuff is organic and is happening naturally. It's all a big, massive stage show. Yeah. And this is, again, in case people aren't aware in chat, I mean, I actually joined the Air Force. I was also a member of the Navy, and I was predominantly in the Army for most of my military career. So I spent an awful long time in all the services. I've had 3 different service numbers. You could say I'm a bit of a sad Muppet badge collector before I kind of woke up and saw the light as to what is really happening in Clown World. Sadly, the majority of the 80,000 people in the armed forces haven't got a clue what's really going on in the world because they're all Muppets who just follow orders religiously without using any critical thinking of their own ability whatsoever. So that's a bit of a shout out for anybody in the armed forces in every nation and world. You're Muppets. You bunch of crazy lunatic Muppets order following numpties.
Well, Paul Mohammed said, Eric, they will make it up as they go, same as they always have. I agree with you there. They make it up. But the thing is, what gets me, we're sort of prodding a stick at Russia, but by numbers alone, however brave the British Army are, we'd be bleeding slaughtered by them because they'd just completely swamp us, wouldn't they? It'd be like a First World War attrition situation. Whoomp.
Yeah.
I mean, 80,000.
Or thereabouts. I believe it's less now. I mean, I think it depends on if you class people who are still classed as male and female. I don't know how it works nowadays. Apparently, they do that much. I forget what they call it. Is it gender equality and diversity stuff? I mean, that's what the British Armed Forces are training in now. They're not learning how to shoot rifles. They're learning how to speak to people who don't even know what they've got underneath their knickers.
Well, I've got a bit of inside information on this, you see. You probably don't realise, Steve, yet. That is from the Fockham Secret Service, you see. And they've got the Queen's Regiment now. And they're blokes dressed in ladies' outfits who are parachuted behind the lines. Because remember, the first rule of warfare is surprise, and it certainly will be a bleeding surprise, isn't it? What are these people dressed in ladies' clothes for? Why are they waving their knickers and saying "Hello, ducky"? I mean, that really would be a surprise, wouldn't it? And they're specially trained in psychological warfare to actually criticise the Russians' curtains. To drive them, all your curtains are terrible. Look at the state of them. So that's the latest. That's the latest news.
Well, let me add to that. But before I mention it, and Kit, before I forget, can I just put a shout out there to Izzy? You might see his name in the chat there. Izzy's a top guy. Yeah. Hi, Izzy. By the way, you.
Hi, Steve. You legend. It's Izzy.
Brilliant. What a top bloke, by the way, is Izzy. So thanks for joining us. So thanks for joining us this evening, especially at this crazy short notice. But where I was going with this is because, again, if people aren't aware in your chat, I've got a social media account, which is kind of a private membership chat group. It's called Soldiers Against Surrender. Oh, did I nearly say that word?
Almost said it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Would you like me to put this on the? Hang on, see if I've got a banner.
Oh yeah, stick it in somewhere.
I think they already have, haven't they? They're
we are the anti-vaxxer special forces.
Oh, you've done it now.
Soldiers against. But anyway, this is how desperate the truth scene is going in amongst the military. Simply because, I mean, this channel I've got's been running for the best part of 2 years, but I'm now decreasing numbers. I'm now down to three members. Yeah, 3 people. Obviously, the truth's getting too much for some, so they've decided to drop out. Instead of listening and checking out what I've got to say, verifying everything I'm saying. Again, I know nobody's on the chat other than some guys I used to work with, so I could be putting anything.
But actually, if you want to find out, want to join it.
Well,
I was going to say,
it's a bit of an exclusive one, sadly, Eric. So, I mean, as much as I'd like everyone to be on it, I'm afraid it's only simply because I know if every man and his dog was on it, everybody who is listening in would run a mile, because it's we're all very kind of, what's the word, elusive as to our.
I fully understand. Don't you worry.
That's all right.
I mean, I have.
Well, as long as it's not the other way around, Steve, because that would be a bit awkward to explain, wouldn't it? Veterans.
That's right. I haven't told a soul that you are head of Fockham Defence and Security. I've just kept that to myself. So
they'll think I'm a shilling
between us
that.
3.
Oh.
Yes. So nobody. Oh shit! We're live on air, aren't we? Oh bloody hell! I haven't even told them that you're in a secret location at 23 Arcadia Avenue. Oh!
Oh,
It'd be a
Should we-
yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, can we look at some of the comments in chat, because
Yeah, why not?
there's some
Why
great
not?
stuff coming up.
Let's have a look. Where should we start? Should we start with we had Easy?
Start at the
Hang on.
beginning.
There's,
Not that far.
well, we had there was a hot air balloon
Yeah,
crash in Brazil,
and
then
I'm
we've got
guessing that
here
was today. Oh,
No,
that
you're
was
gonna-
interesting.
Oxford Football Stadium are known as the Bulls. Football club story. There we
Yeah.
are. That's interesting. We've had Izzy. Here we go. And there we go. Here was it? I think this is Stephen Truseeker. I think there's a bull statue outside the stadium. And look at Birmingham. They've got the bull ring.
Yeah.
There's only 3 sides to the stadium. And look at the shares. That share place in America, New York. They have the bull.
Yeah.
There's a statue
Oh,
of
yeah.
the bull.
Hmm.
Paul said the balloon crash took place in Prior Grand. This is an exact match numerically to the Freemasons.
Interesting.
If you take notice, this is Paul Mohammed, take notice, you add to the creation they created. They cannot create, they need us to create for them. Very good point. That's why
Do you know what? Can we elaborate on that, because that is pinpointed the exact dynamics behind the way the world works. They only they make the plans, but it's we, the people, who breathe life into it for them on their behalf by following their religious cult without question. It's as simple as that. We need en masse just simply stop following what the direction they're given. And it's pretty easy. Why? Because they're all a bunch of lunatic has-beens who are thick and depraved. They're all maniacs, psychopaths. Why we listen to them? I quit an army job which was well paid, had a pension, a career. I walked away from it. Why? Because I realized I was dealing with absolute dimwits who didn't have the best intentions for the human race. If I can do it, and I'm just just an average Joe from the Northeast. If I can do it, if I can walk away and turn my back on something and to be honest, I enjoyed my job. I had some great times and all the rest of it. I worked with some great people. But if I can walk away from it and turn my back on it, anybody else can. It just takes a little bit of study, and especially a little bit of knowledge into morality to understand why that's an important thing to do.
And that took a lot of guts to do things like that. I was listening to this chef. What's his name? Italian bloke, and he was noted for having quite a temper and being a bit off with people and very arty-farty.
It's all chefs these days, isn't it?
Yeah, and I saw him now. He's much older, and he walked away from a Michelin star. He had the top rating for and that's higher than the Fockham star for Bert's Cafe and places like that. And he said, and you could see in his face, the lines in his face, the stress. You only just look at him, and he's a completely different person now. He's very calm. He said, I walked away from it. I achieved my goal. And he said, what's more important to me is to see people, I can't repeat it verbatim, enjoying good food. And he really takes
That's a nice one, yeah.
Personally, and that's good. But that's the thing. Now, someone's asked you. Oh, by the way, Paul says arm spears. That's right.
Yeah.
Stephen Truthseeker said, Steve, I have a question for you about the British military. Are the government deliberately promoting ethnic minorities in the British Army?
I couldn't say for sure. I mean, I literally don't know if that's a thing. But it wouldn't surprise me, simply because every other employer on the planet seems to be doing that, especially anything related to local government. And but this is how communism becomes endemic within the workplace, and then becomes endemic within society, because workplaces are promoting the party line, which is full-blown communism by the sound of it. So wouldn't surprise me if the
Well, that's right.
army are following suit.
Now we're really picking up, considering we didn't advertise
Actually,
it
just
until very late. It's bloody
can I
brilliant.
can
This
I add
is.
to that as well? Can I add to that because this is a question that we got earlier as well. Actually, it's in terms of the number of let's say military age gentlemen that are coming into the country and the amount of the sheer amount that are coming through. I've got to be careful what I say. One of the best ways to destabilize a country's economy and cohesion between the population and stuff like that is to introduce an element that is help me out with words here. I'm going to say foreign.
Yeah.
A little bit like
Alien to our
barbarians at the
culture.
gates. Yeah.
Yeah. Alien
So
to our
yeah,
culture.
again, I'm trying not to come across as racist in this particular regard, but I see where he's coming from with the comment, and it's getting to the point now where it's overt. There's definitely a plan in place that is currently rolling out that it's very concerning, isn't it? So,
Yeah. I mean, you've got to start asking. I'm sure these questions have already been asked by many. Why is it fighting age males? What is the intent and purpose of this, and why does it seem to be congruent with the? I don't know if I can mention the word from a former politically inspired person.
Mr. H?
No,
Mr.
it was
S?
began with a C.
Oh.
Mr. Carl
We should be able. What?
Ergy.
Well, this is
Oh
right.
yes, the man with the plane. Yes.
Yeah, the man with the plan.
Carl and his Kurt Lurgan.
Yeah,
that's the one.
I mean, it
That's the
seems to be.
He's dead now. I think that Carl and his Lurgy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if people are familiar with that, well, it seems to be taking shape. And let's face it, taking shape in the world, well, there was a man called Albert Pike, and we talked about 33rd degree Freemasonry earlier. Albert Pike was a 33rd degree Freemason. He was also, I believe, a Confederate general.
Yeah.
And in the year 1871, he wrote a letter to a gentleman called, I forget his first name, Manzini. Again, you can easily do an internet search for this and kind of see for yourselves. But that letter, Giuseppe Mazzini, that letter happened to explain about World War II, the intent and purpose for it, the outcome, which was the end of the old world order to make way for the new world order, which needed to instigate a condition of World War III, you could say, between two leading countries. And they happen to be the two countries that seem to be taking and tearing chunks out of each other at the moment. So, isn't that funny?
Good point. Which is because the way I look on it, I've got nothing against anybody, because we're all pawns in the chess game. It's the psychopaths at the top that are dividing us and creating problems by putting. And this is how the British. That's where empires were controlled, especially the British Empire, where you just divide and rule, and you'll introduce an alien tribe into an area. There's an alien culture, create trouble between the two, and then you're there as peacekeepers. And it works every time. I think people need to wake up and just look at the situation as it is and the way they're being used. Because once these poor sods that are coming over from God knows where, Timbuktu or wherever, fighting age men, once they've been used for their purpose, then they're just thrown on the scrap heap. Yeah. That's the way countries use these people. And I think we've got to get it across to them, because let's face it, if you come from where they come from and you would offered something very nice and a nice posh hotel, wouldn't you take it up? Yes, of course you would. So you can't really blame them. You're blaming what's behind it. But what I've said a lot of times is that if a person is angry or rough with you, anything like that, always be kind, because you don't know what hell that's going on inside their brain. That's the big problem. And I actually think that shock. Now you might think, what the bleed hell is he going on about? Shock reverts us back to childhood. It could be temporary. I mean, if you have a bereavement, say, of a parent, you temporarily, it might be for a minute, it might be 30 seconds, think, where's my mummy? Where's my daddy? You sort of revert it. And when
it's fear, isn't it? It's like
fear.
the low frequency of conducting yourself.
That's right.
You know.
Now, I think the social engineers are putting people into a kind of fear situation, because have you noticed how immature everything is getting? Look how immature things are now. I mean, the perfect example was a workshop manual. Now, I've got a workshop manual that was printed in 1961, 65, for a Morris 1000 Traveller, and it shows you how to weld it.
It shows you how to what? Sorry. Oh, weld.
Weld.
Yeah.
It shows you everything. How to top up the battery, every nook and cranny. It's a fantastic workshop manual. I've still got it, even though I no longer have a Morris 1000 Traveller. Modern workshop manuals tell you not to drink the battery acid.
Well, because you've got to state the obvious these days, because health and safety is a very, very important subject for about the last 15 years, because before that it used to be called common sense, and these days you really have to be told to take your health and safety certificates relentlessly to avoid tripping over wires and stuff. That's about right, isn't it? So
I mean, in the army, Steve, sorry we can't in there, but in the army, do they tell the new recruits, if the bullet doesn't come out the end of the gun, don't look down the muzzle? You know, I mean, do they? Oh, I don't think she's going.
I would think they're too busy. I think they're too busy prepping for Mental Health Week, isn't it? It's like, don't worry if you can't handle a war, you don't have to quite go onto the battlefield. If you're feeling a bit depressed, just take a little time out to breathe and step this one out. And don't forget, the rainbow-coloured hair is now a thing. I don't know where I'm going with this, Steve. This is
I don't know, but allow me to cut in since you mentioned the armed forces. I mean, isn't it quite ironic if we think critically for a moment? It's kind of ironic in a sense that if you're a member of the army, that you get health and safety training. I mean, right, we're going to blow each other up, but we need to do it under health and safety. It's kind of nuts in a sense, but here's another one. Why do you get equality and diversity training when you're going to go away and murder people from a foreign land who clearly are the people you probably you'd be hauled over the coals for if you said nasty things about them? But here we all are shooting at them. It's absolutely insane.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned earlier that especially the armed forces should be aware of is that look how they treat veterans when they return. It's not like, especially in America, there's a lot of them that off themselves, or they find themselves homeless, or because they've done the job, they've followed their orders, they've come home, they've took that maybe been injured, and then they're just left to their own devices, not supported. They're just left to rot, if you like. And that's the thanks that your lovely governments are going to pay you after you've done all the dirty work for them, and gone abroad, shot innocent civilians, bombed towns and villages, and whatever else that they're going to do. And you come back and you cast aside. Next recruitment, please. So
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Here's another touch of irony, because I'm on another group with some of my ex-soldier mates, and of course they're all kind of ripping the mickey out of the RAF for falling asleep on guard duty or whatever to allow some I don't know if I'm allowed to say the P word, some protesters who spray painted an aeroplane in Bryce Norton, but every single one of them have all fell for the jibbity jab. The laughs on them. They're complete clowns. All of them are clowns in uniform. Come on, lads, grow some balls, grow some brain cells. What does it take to realise that they've all been duped? And
I think again, it's immaturity. They've all been dumbed down by this kind of shock, which is lower there. For example, I had a complaint against Aldi, and I've written into them because I do it always in writing. and I phoned up their customer service to find out the correct email to send it in, because I always send to the top bloke. That's the best thing to do. You know, don't talk to the monkey, talk to the organ grinder. You know, every time. And the person
Can
answered-
we? Sorry, somebody's just sent me a very, very naughty joke, but I really want to read it out. But I'm going to have to be very careful how I do so.
Okay.
I don't know if you can read that.
Dare we go for that?
I don't think I read any of that. There might be 2 words in there that might pass.
Well, I know, but I'm thinking if I do it very carefully, how about so, this could potentially get you kicked off. What's Mr. H's favourite drink?
I don't know. What is Mr. H's favourite drink?
I apologise if the screen goes off right. So, orange juice, 100% concentrated. That is attributed to some random normie that sent me that. It's nothing to do with me at all.
I think before we give ourselves a bad name, can we go to chat?
I love him. Hey, somebody did just send me that. In all fairness, right? That's not. I'm just reading out. I thought it was interesting.
I like that one. Now, if it's for your secret, for your what thing that you do, is it a fans only laugh out loud? You are your own teacher. Otherwise, all you were taught is just hearsay. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But then, how do you know that what you're teaching yourself is any better than what other people would teach you? Who's going to be the judge of the quality of your input? So
that's right.
Anyway,
blimey, it's Saturday. Hello, everyone. Let's screw
it
all
Saturday?
up. No, it isn't. It's Monday, isn't it? It's definitely Monday. Oh shit!
Hello, Hachi.
Hello.
Hello, Hachi. David, Eric, ask your guest if the current alt knowledge community have as many issues and problems as the rest of society, given some topics in his book.
That's a loaded one, isn't it?
I mean, if I was to answer that, I would say yes, definitely. And I know this would probably offend many people, and that's literally not the aim of any of the comments in the book Fake Awake, incidentally. The book is simply, it's hard hitting, and it is an accurate portrayal, and it's got look at that. What a wonderful front cover. I mean, look at that.
I'm not even paying him for this. This is right. I mean, I'm just.
We all need a kick up the arse. I mean, I slaughter the anybody in the armed forces. My mates who are all still in the army, I give them a hard time. Why? Because if I was to talk nicely to them, tell them, "Oh, don't worry, everything will work its way out nicely. Just keep sitting on your arse and keep your eyes shut to reality, and don't do anything about it to resolve the situations you're in." Well, guess what would happen? They would continue to obey a belligerent government and a corrupt group of psychopaths who call themselves authority, and that believe in the religious indoctrinated cult forevermore, and that destroy whatever nations are left on earth at the click of a finger, just because somebody told them to, because they're too dumb to think for themselves. Now, I'm not pairing the truth movement, if you like, with that same brush, but that doesn't mean that there's not collective issues that need to be addressed. So many of those issues are addressed in the book. I mean, personally, I think Nathan's done a fantastic job. Put himself in the firing line, in a sense, with a lot of people who will probably consider him to be
how did he phrase it there? Alternative information or something? Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's triggered a lot of people, but that was the idea. The idea is to point out the obvious problem, because somebody's got to do it, because until we get the problem fixed, we're not going to progress it with anything, are we, really? So, back to what you were saying.
Paul English made a marvellous suggestion, and I think it's a good one, that we all set aside a time a week to imagine it could be just where you are, how things you want it to be, because it's like in the design world, if somebody wants something designed, you imagine it. First of all, I'll give you an example. All right, a pencil. Let's look at this. Now, a pencil, it's, a piece of lead and a bit of wood around it. Someone had to design that, and someone had to think that out before it's ever produced. Someone
It's
somewhere.
the realm of cause, isn't it? It's like cause
That's
and
right.
effect. So
And-
all things begin in the mind. So all things begin with the thought, and the thought leads to.
That's right.
Yeah.
We can imagine it, and this is how civilization has come on, because animals can't and we can. I mean, I don't know whether I suppose a bird can imagine a bird's nest before it makes it. It must do. I don't know. But this is the thing. We've got this imagination. Now, why can't we use the power of our thought to set aside all this crap they're sending us about, whether Trump picked his nose or whether he's got, I don't know, all loads of nonsense they're sending us about, we're going to be griddled alive in a nuclear war, or the pole's going to shift, or that type of stuff. And we could concentrate on thinking beyond what we've got now. And it could be something simple like, I want to see the road with flowers either side. I want to see people happy and smiling. Something, whatever you want to imagine, and we'll aim towards it. But we're putting the shit like local councils, taxation aside. And we've got to have a positive thought. And like attracts like. And I've got a funny feeling that we might engineer just with thought something far better.
There's an interest now that I say not an interesting point. There's an important point, a delineation with that. That's probably sure, that we could probably address here. I mean, I specifically try to encourage people, whoever, whether it's my army colleagues or whether it's the Truth Movement or whether it's the inhabitants of Clown World. I try to encourage anybody and everybody to understand the knowledge and wisdom expressed in the esoteric science, which is generally and broadly known as the occult. And that word, again, just to reiterate, that word means hidden. It is about hidden or secret knowledge. That's all. Nothing evil, nothing towards it. It's not necessarily good or evil. It's just knowledge.
It's a misunderstanding. It's sorry,
Yeah.
it's a bit awkward because we've got the cameras awkward. The problem with the occult is that going back to the question that was asked there, it demonstrates the ignorance within both the movement and the greater population, right? So if you've got a common trigger word that's completely misunderstood, which leads to a misconception of what that involves, then is that not part of what we're talking about here? Right. I mean, the occult, it's like okay, it's a word that refers to something that's been hidden. When you look into the occult, which Steve and I do, that's kind of, I think it's our main interest area, if we're being honest. And I've said this 1,000 times. You're basically looking at nature. It's things that you wouldn't generally associate. Take the tarot cards for an example. If you look at that, you've got the microcosm and the macrocosm, which is just looking at the nature of man and the nature of the universe, which can be anything between, to do with things. Or I don't know, just basic mental functions on. So it's not.
It's the connection between how the human mind functions. I mean, because you drew reference to let's think positive thoughts and happy thoughts and see if we can maneuver our way into a positive environment. That is correct, and it's definitely something that we need to be able to work towards, but it's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily work like this. And this is why the more information people have got on occult science, the more geared we are towards the betterment of our solution in the material world. So if I was to say that there is natural laws inherent within the universe, and if we don't understand them and we don't align our thoughts and our behavior in order to gain the potential from these natural laws, then nothing will change in the universe.
Right.
Reality is a product. Reality, well, we are spirits in the flesh. That means there is, let's see, two planes, if you like, that are inherent in the world. In our real world, in our circumstance, there is the material world of material science, and there's also this spiritual dimension. Now, many people will think, well, that doesn't really exist. Well, yes, it does, but it doesn't exist as a product of a mathematical equation. It exists as a product of deduction by reasoning. If you're not giving yourself enough knowledge to come up with that understanding, i.e., the occult, then that reasoning will not
transfer reality.
It will not work in our perception of the world because we don't know enough. Equally, if we do not align our thoughts to information which is correct and true, then nothing for the better will transpire in the material world. So to put that in more simple terms, if we do not understand the law of cause and effect because we haven't got a clue of what the Hermetic principles are, which are the governing dynamics of how reality is shaped, then we will not understand, care about, or certainly have an understanding on how that can be shaped to change the world, the law of cause and effect. So this is all comes under the umbrella of occult knowledge, and if we, and as the truth movement, to pick on pick up on David's to pick up on David's points, if the truth movement have got a very poor understanding of the occult knowledge of the occult world, the spiritual world, no matter what they care about, it simply will not work for their for the betterment of what they want. I'm afraid you can have all the best intentions in the world, but unless you're putting actions out into the world based on correct, true knowledge that you've gained through understanding, using the principles of occult science, such as the trivium, such as the expressions of natural law, such as the Hermetic principles, then we simply cannot change anything in the real world. This is why there's a power differential between those that know and those that don't know. Sadly, no matter how offended the truth movement as a whole, and I'm speaking as an aggregate of society, not particular groups and not individuals, as a collective body, we do not know enough to be able to change enough. It's as simple as that. That's why we're getting shat upon by people such as the dark occultists who rule the world, who know all these things and are using it in their favor. That's it in a nutshell. If it offends people,
let them be offended. I mean, we are the first people as a group to go around saying, be offended. But they do get offended. So my issue, just to build on that, is, equate it to a building, right? If you start building a temple on a rocky foundation, or or sand or whatever, if you're not laying a proper foundation, your building is not going to last. It's going to collapse in on itself, and that's what's happening now with society. We have been collectively dumbed down to such a point that our education is more, it's like you said earlier, stupid things in instruction manuals stating the obvious, right? We shouldn't need to state the obvious. We shouldn't need certificates to teach common sense, right? This is the low degradation of society, and now we're seeing the aggregate result of that playing out. They've dumbed us down. They've given us a bad education. They've stopped us having the skills to think for ourselves. We are not a nation. We are not a collective of critical thinkers. We are a nation of dumbed down, media-controlled zombies that are relying more and more heavily on things like AI and other things to do for our, to do our thinking for us. That's not going to solve the problem. The problem is you have to go back to the cause and figure out what it is. Where have things gone wrong? Go back to your foundation. And the foundation, as Steve and I will repeatedly go on about, is a lack of understanding of the real world, a lack of understanding of cause and effect, a lack of understanding of what is now termed the occult, and more importantly, complete neglect of the idea of morality and principle. It's lost. I mean, what's not to understand? Somebody who has principle and morality and ethics, somebody who has a good grounding of this they cannot be enslaved. And I know I sound like a broken record. You cannot enslave a moral man. And at the minute, we're a planet that's been enslaved to people who know things that we don't, to people who are prepared to take that knowledge and do something with it. So again, I sound bloody. I mean, you're
No.
10 out of 10 for that, but without sounding too preachy, I think what we're trying to get at is putting good intentions out into the world. It's all well and good, but number one, if you're going to put good intentions out in the world, what are you prepared to do with those good intentions? Because if you're not going to act on it, or if you're acting on it from the wrong, what's the word I'm looking for here, like incorrect knowledge or incorrect understanding, if you're not gathering a proper cohesive standpoint, what good is, I can wish for people to go out into the street and dance on, in unicorn colors and see, okay, I can what's that going to achieve? Equally, if we want to change the world, we're going to have to be prepared to, do something about it. Just just one more thing. Well, no, I was just going to give the Star Wars analogy again. So, I mean, like during our occult show a couple of Fridays ago, I went into the whole nature of Star Wars and how the entire trilogy is based on the occult. When you know how they say, "May the Force be with you." I mean, it's all around the Force, isn't it? Right. So this should tell people something. What's the whole point of Star Wars? The point of Star Wars is use the Force. Well, okay, let's look at that in real world perspective. What is the Force? The Force is action, right? The Force is not sitting back and doing it. It's, letting somebody else do it for you, let somebody else do your thinking for you. No, use the Force. Do it. Go do the work, right?
That's right. And back in
Europe,
we're all frontline troops. Every one of us. Doesn't matter what age you are a frontline troop against what's going on. We're all frontline soldiers. We can't.
Some of the frontline troops, mate, they've decided to sit it out and hey.
Charlotte Isabit said, and she was to do with education in America.
Yeah.
And she's unfortunately, I've been told she passed away a couple of years ago. She's sad. She was good, and she said that the Rockefeller and Carnegie corporations did a study, and what they came up with, they put into operation in 1934, and that is changing the education system. To change it from a think-based economy, to a performance-based, and that's why everything is done to get someone through an exam. Doesn't matter whether they learn anything; they got to pass the exam. It's performance-based all the time for industry.
Wasn't it David Rockefeller who said that he doesn't want a nation of thinkers; he wants a nation of workers? Isn't that what production lines are? And they've done all that now. Their nation of workers have now become a nation of robots, drones, and automated.
That's right.
Service, if you like.
Well, David is actually, this is David in chat. He's also on Telegram. He's just telegrammed me, and he said, asking the community question. That's me on YouTube, Eric, by the way. I take it Nathan is not on camera. They talk about him in third person or whatever the phrase is. You know what I mean.
Oh, that's lost on me. Lack of sleep here, so.
That's okay. I can see you. But what I was going to say, friendly fire. Is that to do with health and safety? So they go, bang, sorry. And you go, oh, bang, oh, very terribly sorry. I didn't, very sorry.
I think if you want to know more about friendly, Yes, I think if anyone wants to know more about friendly fire, they need to ask an American. Just
I mean, they're the best, really. They're very proficient at friendly fire.
Creme de la creme. My dad witnessed them bombing and strafing a cemetery in World War II. And the Germans stopped firing, and the British and Canadians stopped firing and sat back and watched them bombing and strafing a cemetery. So even the dead couldn't rest in peace.
Yeah.
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 But what I was going to say earlier was I had to phone up Aldi customer service.
Oh, you poor thing.
And customer service is like a kind of entity that is dumbed down, speaks to you as if you're an idiot, and speaks to you in a form of pidgin English. Now, I don't know whether there's a call centre in God knows where, but I phoned up. Now, all I wanted to know is the email address in which I need to send a letter. Not an email, a letter, because it saves me on postage, you see. And I got, hello, you today? Pardon? You today? And after about a couple of seconds, I worked out this, how are you today? And it took me about 10 minutes to get this bloody email, and it was wrong in the end. And in the end, I searched everywhere, and I found it out through how, I don't know, but on the internet, because I couldn't find it on the internet. But this person could not speak English. It was pidgin English. Again, I'm not against any person, but she was just going, I go, a what? I say, pardon? And I just go, pardon? I said, I can't hear you. What? I can't understand your accent. What? Couldn't they get someone that could speak Queen's English?
Maybe they do that deliberately to put you all off.
I think
I
it's
don't know
that.
if that-
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's it. And when
It's
I
a
sent
bit
this
like-
email,
Sorry, go on. You continue.
well, no, she told me the wrong bleeding one. So I looked it up myself, sent it to them, then got a number from them, then got another email saying, "Could you send it to another email?" Why couldn't they send it to this other email? Why did they have to ask me? And I've heard nothing more from them.
It's a bit like complaining to the police, isn't it? It's probably you get nowhere fast. Probably just put yourself on a register for further harassment, I would have thought.
Yeah.
But it kind of, I'm kind of drawn to a point that Stephen Truthseeker made earlier about World War III being an intellectual war, not a physical war. And what you see on TV is an illusion. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what he says is correct. TV is an illusion. Why? To keep people, just like the education system that Charlotte Isabite mentioned years and years ago. It's the illusion to keep people in a state of mind that keeps them compliant to become subservient order followers. We need to be sovereign. You can only be sovereign by, and I'm going to put this in a very short statement. You can't be sovereign. You can't own the property deeds to your own mind unless you understand the occult. So I'm going to put that caveat out there to the entire. I'm not saying anyone in particular, but truth seekers in the alternative truth-seeking community, if they don't know the occult, they cannot and never will be sovereign and independent of mind, because it doesn't work like that. To own your own mind means you need to know certain things about it, and that can only be drawn out by knowledge of occult sciences. Shadow work is one such thing. I mean, it's not an exclusive topic of occultism, but it is a psychological understanding that is part and parcel of what the occult embellishes, which is understanding how the mind works. So if you understand how the mind works, such as the ruling class, they understand how the mind works. And if you understand how the mind works, you understand how to manipulate it. Human society, nationwide, worldwide, has been manipulated in the mind because we don't understand or value the functions of our own human mind.
Well, another way of looking at it is that, I mean, if you look at, information and the occult and things like that, for those that say, no, it's evil and we want to avoid it, etc., well, that's like saying, well, we know the enemy's got some really fantastic weaponry, but we're just going to ignore that and see how far we get. No, you need to get your head around their weaponry, if from that perspective,
right.
if you want to,
Old Chinese saying, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer.
or live in the woods.
Yeah.
There you go.
To expand on that point Stephen made about things being an illusion, well, most people on earth follow the biggest illusion known to man, and that illusion is government. The government is a complete and utter illusion. It's not even real. And when I say it's not even real, it's just a group of weirdos who seem to think that they own you. That's it. They think
That's
that
right.
they all knew. Why? Because through the actions of the individuals, they have completely acquiesced their full sovereignty to this bunch of weirdos who seem to have a and most of them have got a particular fondness to young children. So why are we still believing in this myth? The myth of government. The word government literally means mind control. The word parliament, if anyone can break down the French verb parler and mentir, it means to speak lies. This is what the nation of Britain and beyond are all doing through their actions. This is what, and again, I'm not slagging off the truth movement, the members of the truth movement still talking and debating about who's the best president of America when none of them live in America. All of them are complete clowns, coconuts, and cowards. They're all warmongering, psychopathic lunatics. Trump is probably the Antichrist. In fact, I could provably demonstrate
I agree.
using gematria alone why this man is the Antichrist, and you've still got members of the truth community who seem to think that the sun shines out of his behind.
Oh, Christ. And Tommy Trousers,
Yeah,
she's full
all
But the
lunatics.
but the problem I find is that we have, I think, a spoilt kid, middle class spoilt kid problem, because they've never. I mean, once the power goes off and people can't stuff their pizzas and they can't look at, what they call it, arse enders on the television. When that happens, something might happen. But there will be a shortage of quality food, but there won't be no shortage at all of shit to eat. None at all. You could buy shit, which is, and that's what they want, is to eat shit. But now, on Telegram, I've just had a message on Telegram.
Interesting.
Question on Crowley, Eric, for them. So a question, that Alistair Crowley. And notice the way I'm following the topics they bring up. Yes, I noticed that, David. Yes. Should we go into chat and have a quick whiz through chat?
Yeah, well, yeah. On chat, just since you mentioned that, I mean, I think it's David as well. He's asking about an oath of allegiance in the army. Can I answer that point?
Certainly. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Stick that on.
That's a good question, David. And I mean, this is one of the things. I mean, I have brought it to the attention in a legal argument, if you like, to the entire Ministry of Defence, the British Army and defence ministers, who are all a bunch of lying, slimy cowards, custard-eating lunatics, all of them, because they can't face the truth and admit they've been duped beyond compare. I couldn't care less what office of Westminster these buffoons happen to work at. Every single one of them has been thoroughly 101% duped because they're dumb order following numpties. But more to the point, yes, as a British soldier, I took an oath, and I would quite happily, hand on heart, say out of, let's just say, 80,000 members of the British Armed Forces, to my knowledge, I'm the only one who's actually followed his oath. Not one of them. That's a good point. But not one of them.
Yeah.
So when I'm speaking out against soldiers, and again, I'm speaking out against people I work with and people I admire, trust, respect, and all the rest of it, very intelligent people, I would say that the people I work with, they do not understand their own oath, their oath of allegiance. Not one of them has fulfilled the obligations of the Nuremberg Principles, which is all. This is all lawful material that if they don't follow it, they are essentially assisting in, aiding and abetting offenders and all the rest of it. They are all criminals. Everyone who's wearing a uniform in the British Armed Forces today is a criminal de facto, because by their actions, they fail to take into account their own oath and follow the principles known as the Nuremberg Code and the Geneva Convention. Not one of them.
Which means, you know that old saying. Sorry, It's like past the camera here. So, when you get the whole Remembrance Day motto, lest we forget, it makes me laugh now because a lot of people, they keep repeating that, lest we forget, and they've all forgotten. What is it that they are not supposed to forget, right? It's the very same thing that we keep doing, which means they've already forgotten, which means the history that we've been taught, the rules of history that we've been taught, we haven't learned a damn thing. And so what happens then is it repeats, and it gets worse, and it repeats again. It gets worse until the lesson's learned. So I just thought I'd add
What
that
we
in.
learn from history is we
so
don't
there's the
learn from
Nuremberg
history.
Code. Say again, mate.
What we learn from history is we don't learn from history.
Well, that's
what we learn
right.
From it.
Yeah.
There's another thing on history as well, just quickly, just to pick up on what Nathan said there. Remembrance Day, well, how many people have actually remembered that 11 plus 11 plus 11, the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month, adds up to the Freemasonic Society's favorite number, which is 33. Do you think that was just a laughable coincidence? You know, and Muppets around the world are doing this. Yes, sir, no, sir. Oh, patriotism, isn't the Queen great? You bunch of blinking buffoons. That's what I'd say to that.
I mean, it's even more insulting when you realise that the war continued until that particular time was set. But up until that time, they were told, keep shooting, keep going, keep getting shot, I mean, what's all that about then? I mean, it can't all be. Well, it's crazy. The world's an absolute nut house. I mean, you're on about Clown World. I think it should be Circus Planet at this rate. But then you get to, but it's flat. It's not. Can we do some more of the comments, because there's some really good stuff in there.
There's some good ones. Well, I'd like to thank Daisy. Hello, Daisy. Shared out to get more in your chat. Great topics, guys.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you very much. That's very, very nice. And I'll go from the bottom upwards. That's the way Elton John does things, isn't he?
Well, you're gonna be doing the answers before the questions there.
That's right. Yes. We got here.
Give a shout out to Mo as well. Just hello, Mo.
Hello, Mo. Hey.
Just a friend of ours. She's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased you mentioned Nuremberg. That's it. Now
Thanks,
let's have a look here. The Truth Movement have cultism. I agree.
Time. My God.
Oh, I saw that.
I mean,
as Mad Mix Conspiracies broadcast, the cult of G, flat Earth, Trump, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Yes, I got fed up with Trump worshippers. As if the sun, excuse my language, shone out of his arse. And I said, when Tony Blair first came in the 1990s, look at the changes he's making. And I said, Trump will be exactly the same, a 5-minute wonder. And he was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, that's the thing. Now, let's go up here. And, yes, I agree with that one. What is it? There are a lot of wits in the truth.
I mean, we should do comment of the week, and that one definitely gets the gold star from me. I mean,
yes, it does.
Well,
there's a lot of child minds. That is the big problem, because a child can only think what's exactly in front of it. It can't plan ahead because mummy and daddy make all the decisions for them and give them the food and everything else like that. They can only think what's in front, and this is what these social engineers have done. They've made people like children.
Effectively, they've made the whole world like children, because we're all acting like immature, uneducated. We want everything our own way, and we're going to have a party if we don't. That's what they've done to society. That's why you're having crap customer service, because you don't matter anymore as a customer, because they've already got your money. You don't have a choice. You have to go to these big conglomerates and give them your money, because if you don't, you're the one that's going to suffer the point. I mean, they've done a fantastic job of inverting. This is complete inversion. So
I've been fighting a property developer who made an abortion between the boundary of my neighbour's house and a new estate that's gone up. It goes up a hill, and they put 3 fences up. It looks like Parkhurst prison, and this gap is about a foot between each fence. It just hasn't been thought through. So yours truly drew up an idea that would be very cheap to do, and it solved the problem. The bloke came along, couldn't read a drawing. So what happens? Yes, they did it, and they're all smug. They did their own way, and they made a worse balls up of it because the left hand don't know what the right hand's doing, and this goes right the way through. But they're very.
But doesn't that reinforce what we were saying earlier, though, Chris? The fact that they're coming in half cocked with really shoddy education. They're not being taught things properly. They're not getting the full range of skills and stuff. So they're going in with a faulty foundation. Hence, the quality of work that follows the quality of the service is going to drop and drop and drop. And the worst thing that we can do is to accept that fall in quality or the drop in standards. But hence, here we are now. It's already happened.
I'm in favour of strict building regulations, and why? Because it keeps us safe. Because on site, if a person can bodge it, they will, and if they can cut corners, they will, and that's what happened. There was a famous, in the '60s, thing called Roland Point, where a block of flats, half of it fell down, and some poor sod in the bath, and suddenly half his house went. And what it was caused by was, I won't get too technical, because when I was at college, the lecturer who took us, he actually was one of the people, the advisors in the court when it went to court. He was one of the technical advisors, and he told us all about it. And what it was due to was, I don't know, do you know that aluminium corrodes steel, and they corrode each other?
Yeah.
So, and it's called electrolytic action. Now, what happened? It was all prefabricated, these flats in the '60s, and they had steel going into aluminium, and they had these special washers to stop the aluminium corroding the steel. But on site, they thought, I wonder what these special washers are. Oh, we can get money for them up the scrapyard.
Yeah.
So they put it in, and what happens? It went through a winter, and it corroded and crashed, and it was like a domino effect. Bang, 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 bang. All the different floors went down. Now, what we've got now, we've got a privatised building regulation departments in Hertfordshire, and it's for money, it's for profit. So where once upon a time the building inspector would come along, who was an ex-builder, who knew all the wrinkles, he knew all the tricks, and he'd come along with his clipboard. And if you were nice to that chap, he would help you. He was there to help. And he would say, look, you can do it cheaper if you do it like this, and you better design. But now, people, because it's privatised, a building inspector comes along at a time, he's paid to do that, and he goes back, and when he turns his back, they've only got so many visits to do, whereas the building inspector used to turn up when you'd least expected it. That's what he's a good man. And they were old boys, generally,
to keep
and knew what
everyone
they're
on.
doing.
Yeah, but isn't that a way of saying, right, well, there's not going to be somebody watching here at all times, but somebody will come in when you least expect it, so therefore your work best be up to scratch, because otherwise you're the one that gets the job, well,
not
to bring buses up here, but bus conductors come to mind. Paul, don't start your bloody bus stuff, but it's the same thing, isn't it? It's quality control. Now they don't care about quality, they care about output and money and profit.
If we were to put this as a slightly different argument, I mean, you're talking about the building trade here. If we were to talk about building, but not building a building, but building the world into a creation that we want to be proud of and live in without fear of violence, coercion, and being screwed over by an illegitimate authority called the government. What we need to do is build upon our moral understanding. I mean, you talk about regulation. So let's say regulation for the building industry is in order to keep people safe through shoddy building work, for example.
That's what I'm in favour of, because...
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got a problem with that.
I haven't got a problem with it either. Because it worked well. Why mess with it? No, it's because they want to make profit. And that's the thing. And I find it... I hope I'm totally 100% wrong, but I feel that in the not too distant future, there's going to be houses with roofs collapsing and all kinds of manner of terrible things happening.
Well, probably deliver as well.
You know, the point I was hoping to make on this is not so much the fact that it's
I mean, let's say shoddy building work or shoddy workmanship or shoddy materials or shoddy adherence to technical standards. What it boils down to is shoddy understanding of morality. Morality, in its rawest and most basic essence, is known right from wrong. So this is where the human race, and especially, I hate to say it, but even the truth movement have got a bit of an issue on actually understanding this. This sounds really basic and it sounds really simple, and in essence it is, but this is where the whole community, not just the truth community, but beyond, all fall apart at the seams because we do not apply the most basic understanding of right and wrong. So a right is a right. This is the technical definition of a right. This means what you can and can't do. A right is any action that causes no harm to another living being. The opposite of that, a wrongdoing, is any action that causes harm to any other living being. So putting this in the context of building work, if you're building something, and this is intentional, you know, if you've done something by accident, you know, or you've done it because you don't know, it's slightly different. But if you are intentionally cutting standards, which especially if it's just for a monetary gain, if you're doing cutting standards which could result in harm because the building collapses, that is a wrong. If you are building something not for monetary value, but for the, you know, working to a high degree of workmanship, doing things to the right, you know, the right technical specifications, you shouldn't need any regulation whatsoever. There shouldn't be any outside influence having to check up, monitor, or coerce, entice, or anything else, because we're doing things based in morality. This is where the human race needs to put itself. So if they want a great awakening, the great awakening will never, ever occur in the age of Aquarius unless people understand the fundamental difference between right and wrong. And that means, and I know I've said it as an example before on your chats, if I'm driving at 100 miles an hour in what, you know, let's just say it's a 40 mile per hour zone, that, I'm not saying I condone or I agree with this. If I'm driving faster than the speed limit, as long as nobody gets hurt in the process, then I've committed no wrongdoing. Therefore, I am in the right. If I knock somebody down or, you know, I bump into somebody's car because I'm driving recklessly, that is a wrong. But unless that happens, it is a right. And that should be, that notion needs to be part and parcel of every action that we take in the entire universe. So, for example, drug users, if anyone wants to smoke dope, as long as nobody else gets harmed in the process of doing that, then there should be no blockage whatsoever towards that activity.
Which, if you want to simplify that, I mean, from what, and again, I absolutely concur with Steve on this one. The most simple way of looking at that is if it's not a wrong, then it's a right. Right? If it is not a wrong, an act of harm or an act of wrongdoing, then by default that is a natural born right. That right there is natural law. That's as simple as it gets. I mean, that's
right. No injury, loss, or harm.
You know. Yeah.
And you're absolutely spot on. We're basically taking the words out of my mouth.
Well, do you know what? Let me just expand on that a little bit, because this is where we need to really wrap our heads into, well, guess what? Government, military, and the police, these are all part and parcel, one of the same thing, authority. When somebody has got authority over others, whether it's real because they can really do this, or whether it's just illusion, and they're manipulating people's understanding. Well, if somebody is, let's take the army, for example. If a group of individuals are telling another group of individuals to go to a third world country and drop bombs on the place, that is clearly a measure of wrongdoing, because people are harmed in the process. If the police, for example, and by the way, if you think I'm harsh on the army, well, that's nothing compared to what I've got to say about these complete lunatics, unhinged maniacs with the lowest IQ fathomable, which is the police in every nation of the world. Absolute scum of the highest order, dumbos, first-rate order following coconuts. But what I've got to say on that, governments, authorities bring laws, which is again just things, instructions. Let's just look at laws. Laws are just instructions that are going to take rights away from individuals. So one of those rights is, well, guess what? Right and wrong. So when the police go and bust your door down because they don't like a post you put on Facebook, that is wrongdoing. They've destroyed your property. Then they're going to probably incarcerate somebody by kidnapping them, locking them in a cell, taking away their right of freedom. They are wrongdoers, the highest order of wrongdoers. And what else? If I went down the pub and spoke to a bunch of off-duty coppers and said, you see that bloke down the street, I'm not particularly fond of that man. He smokes weed and he puts some little nasty comments on Facebook. They wouldn't listen to me, but they'd listen to the authorities, the government, and they'd do exactly as they're told because they can't think for themselves. They are wrongdoers. All of these departments, government, wrongdoers, local council, wrongdoers, police, wrongdoers, military, all wrongdoers. The human race who pay tax and feed into this system because we oblige in it and obey it, or whether we pay tax or not, if we don't do anything to oppose this system, then we are obliging it. We are all wrongdoers. The whole human race, wrongdoers.
I think what you're saying is that what we've got drilled out of us is, shall we say, well, I'll give an example. Yellow vests in France, they were responsible people. They didn't have a leader. They didn't need a leader because they were farming folk, and farming folk have got to make up their own minds. They've got to be responsible people. And what they drained out of us in our education system is responsibility. People are not taking responsibility. They're looking for a leader. And when you look you look around the world, look at different tribes. The tribes that don't have a leader are generally the most laid-back, kind people and nice. The ones that have a leader have a bloody hierarchy system, and they're generally the more warlike of the lot.
Can I interject with that as well? Because I think I've made the point before. I've got no problem with leaders. I've got no problem at all with somebody, because a leader is somebody who leads, right? Somebody, so ideally, somebody that leads by example. What people are looking for is a nanny, right? They're looking for a mummy or for a daddy to direct and dictate. Okay, well, if you're looking for a mummy or a nanny, then that means that you have a childlike mentality, and you're going to get what you've asked for. Whereas leaders, I have no problem with that at all. If somebody wants to teach you something, if somebody wants to show you how something is done, whether that be quality standards, architecture, take any nature of thing, okay, you need a leader in that field, because otherwise, how are you ever going to get to that level, right? So again, I get where you're going. I think we're playing semantics with the words here, but does that make sense?
That makes sense. You see, but the thing is that if you didn't have a government now, it'd be because people are so conditioned to look for a leader. But leaders that lead from the back, not the front. That's sorry, no dirty jokes, please. But you know what I mean. I mean, for example, I went along to a group once that someone started it and ran it, but you wouldn't know he was a leader. He was just he was there. He's in the background. They're the best type. But unfortunately, narcissists tend to take them over. And that's what happens.
Well, it depends whether, if we're on about narcissistic leaders and sociopaths and psychopaths, then yeah, they're unfortunately, generally, they're the ones that do lead from the back, unless they're getting all the glory, in which case they'll take the risks and do what's necessary. But, the other problem I've got with this is, look to your own devices, and we don't need leaders. Yes, we do, because at the minute we are so disjointed and misdirected and confused and convoluted. Yeah, we do need a leader to lead from the front. I would say we need a few, because if we are left to look to ourselves for leadership and we don't
the
have
moment,
a clue
yes.
what we're doing or talking about, my God, we're all going in the wrong direction.
But we got a society of children. That's the real big problem.
Well, yeah,
Child
effectively.
minds.
But children need teachers to guide them and to set the example, to show them how it's done, right?
Several generations to iron that out. That's the thing. But should we go back into chat, because there's a load?
Yeah, there's some good. Actually, there was a question asked earlier. I think it's only fair to go back to it. It was Dave ID. I don't know how we pronounce that. David. It was on about the Aleister Crowley one.
We're just going to go out there. What time?
Do as thou wilt.
Mm-hmm.
Which again plays nicely into natural law. I can't remember where it was exactly. Was it further up than that?
Yeah.
There we go. Right, David, 9:40 p.m. That's the timestamp on that one. That's that one. Right. Okay. I'll go first for this one, because again, look, this the phrase "do as thou wilt," i.e., the law of Thelema. However you want to look at that, everyone thinks he was evil. Okay, I've got no problem with the idea that Crowley was evil and he was self-serving and he was doing all these, dark occult rituals, which is completely different. In terms of "do as thou wilt" shall be the whole of the law, love under will, right? So in other words, the whole point of that is actions have consequences, right? Yeah, sure, do what you want. Do what you want in life. There's two ways of looking at that. Do as you want, but cause no harm. All right, then you're acting within the confines of natural law. You're doing what is right. You're not harming anyone. Why shouldn't you do what you do? We're supposed to be free, right? Nobody owns the earth. Nobody owns the sun. Nobody owns the solar system, right? We should be able to enjoy these things at will, at our pleasure, without causing any harm. However, the point of that, the whole idea of "do as thou wilt," which people say, oh, well, that's a satanic construct. No, it's not. The Satanists just understood it because they studied it. That doesn't mean that the whole law of Thelema is evil. It just means that the Thelemists, or however you want to pronounce, look at them, they just understood what they were dealing with. They understood their subject. The whole point of that is actions have consequences. Right, so that's consequentialism, as above, so below. This really is basic stuff. This isn't difficult. I mean, it's so simple. To the childlike mentality that's had no training in this and no exposure to this kind of information, we are now having to remap kids' brains, and by kids I mean the population. And we're on about childlike mentality. Yeah, they are. They're looking for parents. They're looking for teachers. But they're all running wild. So at the minute they're enjoying the playtime. Unfortunately, somebody's going to get hurt. Things are going to get damaged. If you want analogies. So I'll pass it over to Steve to.
That's it. I mean, was it Daisy said, "To know thyself is the beginning of wisdom," and Stephen Truthseeker said, "Stop voting." Well, I did years ago.
I stopped voting years ago.
It's very bad for you.
The thing is, you can stop voting, but the government are still there. So I stopped voting probably at least 15 years ago. I probably didn't understand what I knew today, but I stopped voting years ago. And strangely enough, the government are still telling me how to live my life and bringing misery to millions of others.
Yes, I agree with you. Yes.
Just a little bit, just to kind of, while Nathan's point's kind of still valid, in Satanism, in the Church of Satan, and again, I'm not advocating Satanism at all. I'm anti-Satanist. I teach the occult, educate on the occult, so people do not fall into the trappings of Satanism. Now, I'm going to mention that most people in the world are actually Satanists, and that nobody ever told them, and they don't know it, and they probably wouldn't even believe it. But I, if anyone comes to my presentations, I prove it to them. This is probably why the truth movement give me a big steer clear, because I'll give them some home truths that they don't want to know. But on that, the Church of Satan have got 9 principles, 9 rules, if you like. They've also got, and you'll like this, they've also got 11 house rules, 9/11. Funny that, isn't it? The number of associate with dark magic, 9/11. 9 principles, 11 rules. But the reason I mentioned Satanism, because all the government are Satanists. I'm not saying that that's their religion, but this is by their actions. They are Satanists. And sadly, 2/3 of the population agree with the tenets of Satanism. And let's go into four of them, which are the most obvious ones. If you were to break these down: selfishness, a principle called objective morality or moral relativism. These are principles that most people don't understand in enough detail, so they fall into the category of becoming moral relativists. That means that it doesn't matter what's right. We talked about right and wrong earlier. It's what they are led to believe. So they end up doing the wrong thing because they don't know any better. But another principle of Satanism is something called social Darwinism, which is essentially like a pecking order. We believe that there is an authentic pecking order to the way society is constructed, i.e., we've got the divine right of kings as a broad example of that. The last point is an incident called eugenics, and we'll just have to look back at the last crazy health emergency to realize the entirety of what that means. So most people on Earth, and I'm going to say a figure, and it's been kind of rounded down to 2/3 of people believe in these principles: moral relativism, social Darwinism, and eugenics. 2/3 of people equates in percentage to 66.6%. So we need to kind of figure out what that number means and realize that many of us are part of that category. Every police officer, every servant soldier, every member of government falls into that ideology. It's not a religion, it's an ideology, and that's most of the world. So the Great Awakening, I think we've got some work to do in order to reach that stage of awareness.
Well, it's service to self as well. That's what it's all about: selfishness, service to self.
And also, the government has now allowed infanticide, which I'm absolutely horrified with.
Yeah, I saw that on your group earlier.
Absolutely, I was gutted to hear that. I mean, that is beyond savagery. Savages wouldn't even do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
So, any trumpeteers listening? If there's any trumpeteers listening to this, well, guess what? He's a member of the government. This is what he stands for. I couldn't care less what you think that your QAnon BS is going to do.
Just
could we? Now we're going down. I'm just having a look. I'm sorry if I'm missing a few out, but we've got a lot. We've got Matilda. Hello, Matilda.
Hiya.
Matilda.
Hello.
Matilda. The government like employment figures to look good, so young people vote for them. Yes, I agree. But the thing is, it's all fiddled because the unemployment rate is now, I think it's 3 times higher than in the 1980s. And they just fiddled with the figures.
Yeah,
it reminds me of another period of history where prices have gone through the roof, inflation's out of control, and there's mass unemployment. What does that remind us of?
I mean, if the government
20s, 30s Germany.
Yeah, just a bit.
If the government can lie willfully about World War I, World War II, and several other dark elements of history, I'm pretty sure they can lie about employment figures anyway. I mean, they can lie about. By the way, do you know there's a strategic aerosol transportation and nucleation program? You ever heard of that one? Let's do a little.
To dull the sky down so the sun doesn't come through.
Yeah, funny that one, isn't it? But this is what it's called since 2023, I believe. They call the program the Strategic Aerosol Transportation and Nucleation. Let's just boil down a little the letters of that word, of that phrase, SATAN. Funny that, isn't it?
That is strange.
Now,
David has said, sorry, I'll shut up. I think there's 10 chat platforms going on Eric's screen. There's a bloody lot going on this screen, I'll tell you that. That's why I'm sort of sitting there going,
Just to interrupt again, Steve. I mean, you're on fire tonight. I think you need to sleep on the beach more often and get no sleep. I mean, you're absolutely brilliant tonight. It's
by the way, any ideas what my mother woke up and was next to? Oh, I can't so. Oh, it was terrible. Oh, a complete mystery. It may not have been a used sanitary towel. It could have been a used condom. Who knows?
Oh,
Or as
my
my cousin
Lord.
said,
jellyfish,
who knows?
a new species has been discovered on the beach. That's
Well,
disgusting.
in
By the way.
Southend, yeah. Yes. David's put it perfectly here. The drug laws are idiotic. I agree with you.
Any morally relative subjective law is idiotic. I mean, again, going back to the idea of moral relativism, if it's not objectively right, then it's somebody's opinion. It's somebody's imposing their will, regardless as to right and wrong. What we are dealing with in every single country is arbitrary, made-up laws according to some psychopathic dictatorship that has took it upon themselves to rule the rest of us, right? Well, it's not just look. I mean, look at the laws that they've introduced in the last 2 years in this country alone. They are nuts. Censorship laws, that should be the biggest red flag going, and there's plenty of those. You can't say things, you can't offend people, you can't. Come on, people. If you lose the right to free speech, you've lost your rights. Full stop. You have no rights, which means you are completely enslaved, mind, body, and spirit. Come on. Get your asses in gear and listen to what we're saying here, But yeah, drug laws are idiotic. I'll agree with that.
Now, David's coming out with some good stuff here. He says a badge can make a muppet of someone faster than giving them a gun.
Yes. Yeah, well said. Yeah, so all the police, every single police officer in the world is a complete muppet. And even though I was a soldier, I had a machine gun and bazookas and grenades. Yeah, I was a muppet, and I'm the first to say I was the biggest muppet on the face of the earth.
But we've all been muppets, haven't we? We've all been muppets when we were younger.
That's true, mate. But what Steve has done there is he's set the example. So now Steve is doing the leadership role. He's setting the example by admitting that what he was doing was wrong. It was morally, abhorrent. I was trying to be kind there. But he's come out with his integrity intact and said, "Yeah, what I was doing was wrong. It's reprehensible. I shouldn't do it. Nobody should be doing it." But where's the rest of the people saying, look, everyone makes mistakes. Everybody's an idiot. Everyone's a fool, right? The whole tarot, the path of the fool. The point is we are all that until we're not. And the point at which we are no longer the fool is the moment we realize we've been foolish. Right? Yeah. We have been fooled and we are the fool. Stop it.
Do you know what, Eric, you mentioned a good point earlier. You said it takes guts to do what I've done, and I'm going to say now I took absolutely no guts whatsoever. The only thing it took was one thing, and that was conscience. The only thing I did was I acted upon a sense of conscience. Didn't take any guts whatsoever. In fact, it was easy.
I disagree there. I think it did take guts because, quite honestly, most people be gutless and think, "I'll just sit back, I'll get a good pension, and I'll just sit it through." Really. Mm-hmm. I think most people would, but working on conscience, that is a good thing. I mean, when I was freelance, I don't want to sound like the sun shining out my backside, but I actually refused. If I was working on any laboratories or anything like that, I would not work on anything that's to do with animal experimentation. I made that very clear. And the other one, I would not work on military stuff. Right, I lost a lot of contracts because of that. Because I said I'm a conscientious objector. I'm sorry, I do not do anything like that. I did work on a canteen in a military base once. That was in the office, and they were desperate. And I said, "Okay, I will work on it," because there was a shortage of people at that time. But that was a canteen to give people food. That wasn't anything else like that.
But look at what the pair of you are doing there, right? So look at what you've just embodied, the stuff that we've been talking about. Again, objective morality, standing on principle. The pair of you have refused point blank to go along with something that is morally objectionable. So that's where the change begins. That's how it starts, right? So you've both just proven there the point that we've been trying to raise, which is you cannot enslave a moral man. And neither of you were willing to take that step, if you
Well,
like.
I made it clear. I worked for a pharmaceutical company once, and I said I will not work on any project. I was a site architect there. I said I will not work on a project which involves torturing or mutilating
Right.
animals.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
And
thought,
can you
that's it.
imagine if
I won't
everyone
get the
did
project,
that?
and I did.
Mm.
But I mean, I thought I wasn't going to get the project, and they said, "Yeah, you're the fella for it." But
Interesting.
and it was quite interesting. A couple of the blokes that were interviewing me for this, they agreed with me. They said, "No, we do not work on projects that mutilate animals." I said, "I'm sorry, I just want to, especially for the perfume industry.
Yeah.
It's that is I will not work on it, and that's it. But
But again, imagine if everybody took that stance. If everybody decided to refuse to do things that were, cruel or evil or again immoral, however you want to look at this, then it couldn't go any further than it has, right? It would
Well,
stop overnight. The whole idea is this, stop complying with the things that are against your best interests and
I mean,
effectively everybody's best interests.
I've laughed and joked about saying, because you get like a bit mercenary when you contract. I'm not doing that project. How much? Oh yeah, I'll do that project. I joke about that, but there was always that deep moral behind there that I would
Right.
not. There are certain things I would not work on, and I mean with the pharmaceutical industry, I thought I'm not working for them. But then when I found out it wouldn't be animal experimentations, the laboratories I'd be designing and working on, I thought, well, okay, that's all right, and it turned out to be, shall we say, an eye opener to the way they work.
Yeah.
I could do a couple of series of shows about that. That's quite
Yeah.
an opener. But the trouble is, I'd like to live a little bit longer on this earth. So I
Steady now.
probably won't, But
Could we have? Oh, you've right next to the one I was going to ask you to put. Could we got the one above that?
okay.
There you go.
Paul Mohammed, and set up against each other, divide and conquer, and get them while they are young.
Yeah,
That's right.
basic dialectics and psychology 101. Get them while they're impressionable, and whilst the youth are formulating their thoughts, how they're formulating their worldview, their perspectives. Get them young and forge the outcome, because that way you own the future, and that's exactly what they've done over and over again. And this is another one. Whilst we are fighting each other, we're not aimed in the right direction. Right, this is well. I'm going to preach.
Do you know, again, kind of elaborating on David's point earlier, the truth movement are still at loggerheads with each other, because we're still, arguing the toss over certain things which are largely irrelevant in the scheme of things.
Massive.
Essentially, the only things that the truth movement should be doing now, again, a progression of 5 years. If people haven't woken up to what's happened within the last 5 years, they're never going to get it. What we need to be at is a stage of progression where we fundamentally understand the principles that are being exploited and used against us, which are essentially the tenets of Satanism, which is, as I mentioned, objective morality, moral relativism. That's what we need to know. I mean, effectively, we could do a show just on that instance alone in order to do a deep dive into it, to fully understand it and elaborate it. We need to understand the fundamental difference between right and wrong. And again, as simple as that sounds, we're still not able to do it, because if we were able to do it, the world would be a state of bliss by now, because that's how it works.
I think we should look, as I said earlier, we're all frontline soldiers, all of us.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter your age. And I said to my neighbour, she said, well, what can I do? I said, well, hang on a minute. I've told you about usury. If you've got friends, tell a friend who might be interested in it. And that friend will tell somebody else and somebody else. And as I said on a previous show, there was a run on the banks, I think in about 1909 or something like that. And the rumour started in London. Now remember, in 1909, the average person couldn't afford a telephone. Upper middle class couldn't really afford a telephone. It was only the Rothschilds that could afford telephones. They're really rich. Telegraph, no, people couldn't afford to send telegrams. But a rumour started in London, and by midday it reached Edinburgh and Glasgow. That speed,
Funny that, isn't
word
it?
of
Yeah.
mouth. Yeah. So that these things do happen. Now that was interesting. Now this is what David said. Because most people are in fact children, it's scary. People with their hands on their finances and the ability to declare war and detonate nukes really are infants in adult bodies. Yes, you look how big
Mm.
these people are. Sort of, we got nuclear weapons, you know,
hmm
but they're not so big.
Psychological children, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they're not so big now because this Iron Dome is not so good. And there was an Israeli chap saying, "I think they're just fireworks." And he's showing these rockets going up and exploding in the air.
Yeah.
He said, "I think it's a firework display, and I don't think anything's coming in." I think he's got a point, that bloke. um, now, what's this? You never left school; you were just led into it.
Yeah. I mean, these are things that let's say where truth is, the alternative community can, and I think they are in a large degree re-educating or educating their own children outside of this state-sponsored propaganda. You know, this is it might be a long-term
Oh
solution, but
yeah.
this is one of the things that we need to do.
Well, the thing is that if you go along to one of these truth people, you not always. It depends on where you go. If you go out of certain areas, out of middle class areas, you
Mm.
get a different type of person. In the country, especially, you get different class because they're farming folk, so they're
hmm
more responsible people. But if you go to the children, the less responsible types, first thing they'll do is want your WhatsApp details, and you'll be
Mm.
bombarded with people, copies of people telling us what they want to hear. Farage tells people, he's very good at telling people what they want to hear. Complete
hmm
bullshit what he comes out with, but he wants, and a lot of them don't really tell you anything. They're just, and it's like
Yeah.
these events where they have these marches and there's speakers standing up. And I notice it's now become very celebrity based, starring such as to.
Mm.
But what's happening to change things? Nothing.
hmm
I believe the only way we're going to change the powers that be is to be like the Kalahari Bushmen. Now, the Kalahari Bushmen I've got the highest respect for. They are the most brilliant hunters and people. And what they do, they wear an animal down until
Mm.
it can't stand it. And we got to wear the powers that be down. There's more of us than them. Wear them down. How are we going to do that? Well, what I'm doing, for example, with Hertfordshire County Council, they sent a load of crap through to me about how they're going to repair a lamppost at the bottom of the cul-de-sac, and they sent a map with a line. They're saying, "Could you please clear your vehicles from this area, going
hmm
up people's drives?"
Yeah.
What? And the
Well,
reason why is because I got the Oxford Junior to do it. Didn't know what the bleeding hell is doing.
yeah. That's a good point. Do you know another thing that we can effectively do? And again, this isn't a short-term fix. Nothing's going to happen overnight by following this. But I've mentioned earlier something called moral relativism. We are essentially, this is the world's biggest religion, by the way. It's the biggest religious ideology is moral relativism. One thing we can do to mitigate that is we can start as, let's say, the truth community. We want to do something that is progressive, that we can work in our favor. Well, one thing we can do is we can stop following and adhering to principles that are employed by a bunch of psychopaths called the government. Now, a lot of people aren't in that mind space yet because they haven't come to that conclusion. That's the conclusion that we need to make. Let me put this in another sense. I used to be a soldier. I used to follow orders and act on them with impunity. I was good at my job, and the lads I worked with were very good at their jobs. So if the government, for example, want a certain task done in a faraway land, I can guarantee it would get done and would be done successfully. if people want to stop that, if the truth community want to stop that, the only way that is going to stop is by stop the adoration towards a dangerous religious belief in the cult of statism. We need to stop being subservient slaves to the government. So the belief in government, the belief in the cult of authority, is the belief that slavery is acceptable. It is also the belief that war is acceptable, and it's also the only thing that will drive war forevermore, is by following authority. Now, not everybody's in the mind space of, well, if we don't have a government, what do we do? It'll all go pear-shaped. It's not for me to say this. I mean, I'm quite happy to, but the show will drag on for quite a long time.
I was going to say, just before you do that, I'm gonna disappear for 10 minutes. So if the show ends before I come back, put my apologies in.
That's okay. Leave the window open when you come out.
It's not for that. No, it's not. I know you. That's the first thing that comes to your mind, Chris. No, just like, if I'm not back, in 10 minutes or so, just thank you for all the comments and chat. They've been really great. Steve is now my preacher as well, so it's like he's done. But if people don't know what statism is, now's the time to find out. And again, it's right in line with you. So if you'll excuse me for 10 minutes, and no, it's not for that. I've got something else to take care of. So, so I'll be back shortly.
The point I'm making towards this, Eric, is again, not to labour the point, but we need to have a common grounding on a common understanding in the alternative community. We need to have a good, solid benchmark of understanding. That understanding is not, would Nigel Farage make the next best Prime Minister of England? Would Trump be the next best thing in America? This is all bunk. There's loads of things, and again, I'm probably interested in a lot of this stuff, conspiracies and all the rest of it. Yeah, it's real interesting stuff. I'm not going to knock it, but what I am saying is, what we do need to know is, we need to know the functioning of our own minds and how we can use that to create the best effect to forward a solution to the crisis that the world is in. That can only be met on the plane of causality. The plane of causality is the mental plane. That is the functioning of the human mind. And if we aren't in a mind space to understand that slavery is a bad thing because we still obey the rulership of authority, then we are not going to be able to change what's known as the plane of effects, i.e. the material world. There's no change can be made in the plane of effects. It has to start at the plane of causality, which again is the human mind. So this is something that we need to understand, and it's something we need to get our heads around. So if we understand the weapons being employed against us, which is the tenets of Satanism, as I mentioned before, if we understand that, and we can then get to an understanding of how to create a solution from that. I hope that makes sense anyway.
It does make sense. It's a bit like, it's probably, I think you may have had this in the army. And I know the Russian army had it. And that is a book called The Art of War, which is about 3,000 or 4,000 years old, by, I can never get his name right.
Sun Tzu.
Zongzing, yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff in it is quite incredible. Like, if you're strong, make out you're weak. If you're weak, make out you're strong, and things like that. But I think that they're crafty the way they're manipulating us. But we outnumber them numerically, and they're terrified of that. That's the thing. And
they've done a good number. Yeah, what they've done is they've just exploited our weakness, and our weakness is our own heads. Inside our own heads is our own weakness. So we don't need guns and bullets. If that was the case, I would have stayed in the army. But we don't need that. What we need to do is, like you said, we need to understand this, and we need to understand how we can use it for the better.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I'm from a different world. We're like a design world, and the way I look at it, we look at the world what we want to have, and we're trying to aim towards it. We say, well, this can be better. We can do this better, but ignore the arseholes in power. That's the fact is that they're a waste of space. They've proved they're a waste of space, and they always will be. And I can't stand it when people go lick-arsing round politicians, councillors, and people like that. No. And it's like if you go to the council, say, you've got 1 minute to speak. So hang on a minute. We pay your wages. We say jump, you ask our high. Okay? We'll speak for as long as we want to bleed and speak. And that's where they should be with those arseholes.
Yeah.
But Paul said they are showing who they worship more clearly than ever before the regular 666 signs and the devil's horns by football players. I've seen that. And all the satanic rituals shown on the telly like the Eurovision. Now, I must ask you, was that used to torture people? You catch someone from from the other side, you put them in a wrong and threaten to play the Eurovision Song Contest to them, and they'll crack within a few minutes. No, we're not watch the Eurovision Song Contest. Yes. Now, David said that stuff came from academics. I think what we were talking about earlier in the 1990s under postmodernism. They preached absolute relativism. Yes.
I'm not gonna say he's wrong there, but what I'm gonna say is what I'm talking about predates that by about 1 million years. I'm afraid the tenets of understanding the human mind, the human psyche, is all about alchemy, and alchemy predates anything in science by 100 billion years. Alchemy. All of these tenets of the occult world have been known since the dawn of history. So, postmodernism, sadly, this is way beyond that. I mean, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, they all understood this. They all talked about this.
Now, would you this is Stephen Trueseeker, would you put your granny down if she got sick? But many will put down that pet dog. Well, soon it's going to be easy to put granny down because if the elderly go into hospital, they won't come out.
Yeah,
they're killing children.
A lot of people put down their grannies during the Midazolam period because they just didn't have a clue what was going on in the world. So,
well, Paul said the Vatican's telescope was called Lucifer, and David said, Eric, ignore my comments, please. Certainly, you make very good comments. So,
some good top comments there. Excellent.
I'm sorry I haven't got round to everybody. Phil Howard. Government isn't the problem. It's getting the right people in the government positions that's the problem. We have to separate the government from the banking cartel. Yes, it's the banking cartel that controls government.
Yeah. Well, can I elaborate on that? Eric, if I can elaborate on that, I'm afraid. I mean, I appreciate Phil's points there, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to disagree to a large extent on that. Government isn't the only problem, and you will never ever get the right people in government. It's impossible. You will never. You can go 1 billion years and you still won't get the right people in government. Why? Because government stands for mind control. Mind control, and the use of the techniques employed by government, such as law and legislation, can only be used and brought about by force and manipulation. There's no other way around it. To exploit the rights of other people can only be done by using manipulation and force. Force, manipulation is a form of violence. It's all coercion. This is all goes against morality. So if you get Buddha, if you get Buddha and Jesus into the seat of power and they use government tools as their means of operation, then they will become immoral. They will always exploit others and force their decrees by violence. So therefore, you'll never get the right people in government. It's an illusion.
But also, the reason we pay such high money into the government is because of the usury scam. and if you did away with usury, then things would be very, very different. Because
Yeah.
if you, it sounds a bit socialist, but I assure you it isn't. Efficacy of the country, profits of the country would go into that bank, and that would be paid out to us. I believe Gaddafi had something similar. So old age pensions and things like that wouldn't be a problem. And you imagine people would think, right, we're positive. We're going to make Britain great. Well, we're working hard. And look, we worked hard this year. And look, we've made even more money, and more people are going to get more money into their bank accounts.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a nice world to live in?
I mean,
That's
I
what
think that's
Gaddafi had.
a good. It's a really good point, but usury is just a symptom of a diseased group of individuals. I mean, it's still just a symptom. It's just a bit like a certain particular health emergency in the last few years was just a symptom. It's a symptom of a disease, and that disease is
Disease mind.
a diseased mind. But that diseased mind is a result of bowing down our understanding and acquiescent to a fake, illegitimate authority called government. The only, I mean, John Locke, who was an enlightened thinker in the days of the American independence, he's declared that there should be no rightful authority over anyone. You know, and he spoke for politics. He knew this. Every enlightened thinker since the dawn of man has always said the only rightful authority that anyone has over a living person is God. So no one in the government has got that title yet.
That's right. Now I'm just going to skip through, put a few on it. Phil, it's controlled. This is Stephen Truthseeker. Controlled, mastered from the what's that? DGAD. Don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. World War One was about restriction of travel, nothing else. Well, it's the same with World War Two as well. All wars, they restrict travel.
Yeah.
Yes. And they're in Israel at the moment. You can't leave the country unless you are a foreigner or it's on business or some, Now, let's have a look. Now, this is very true. Stephen Truthseeker says World War One was a massive blood sacrifice and the use of holographic technology. Don't know about the holographic technology. I haven't heard that one.
All right. I mean, I'd be interested to see what the holographic stuff was.
I mean,
I would agree with the blood sacrifice. All wars are blood sacrifices because they're in alignment with satanic ritual dates. I mean, World War One, they used the Night of Demon Revels to kickstart the bloodbath, which was known as the Battle of the Somme, and they ended it on what's now known as International Occult Day, because this is how these Satanists work.
They do, and was it some extraterrestrial groups actually apparently operate on that level? They will self-terminate before doing harm, I think there's, to other sentinel species. I found that fascinating. I don't know anything about that, but it says here, Daisy said, far too many distractions for people to learn to go within humans. Humans are nuts. Yes, I'd agree with you there. Now it says here, no, sorry if I'm skipping a few because we've got so many in chat. Yes, frontline soldiers, but need to fight this as a guerrilla war, like a million bee stings, not like a raging bull. Yes, you got a point there. And my word, says David says, really good guest, Eric. I'm off. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, David. Thanks for your comments, by the way, if you're still listening.
Yeah, I'm. Yeah, I think I'm going off a bit.
Yeah.
And now, Angel of Mons holographic technology.
All right. Yeah. That's
an interesting one.
Right.
Both sides saw it.
Yeah.
And
good point.
That's a very good point. And also the battleships, you know, that camouflage they had on them, which was
Mhm.
called Dazzle. Well, they're looking at that now as a way of fooling face recognition cameras
Okay.
using a sort of a veil that you put down that's got Dazzle on it, so that it just can't
Yeah.
work out what there is behind there.
Yeah. Can you not just, like facial recognition, can you not just walk around with your fingers like this
You
to
could do, couldn't
obscure
you?
your appearance?
Or have Tony Blair masks gone, you know.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you, but Paul's just said, I've got to catch up on beauty sleep. Good night, all. Much
All
love.
right.
Great show. Thanks. I don't know about you, mate, but I'm a bit knackered. Are you?
Yeah. I mean, we've
Because you slept
been
on a beach.
yakking for a while, I guess. So,
And I'll just drink a glass of water. Sorry, a cup of water out of this magnificent mug. Plug.
yeah. Oh, watch the
Right,
plug
now.
nearly fell out.
Oh, it did, didn't it? You know, I stuck the handle on with a bit of the old Aldice bastard on, so
All
it
right.
won't come off.
Yeah.
Now,
See, Nathan, he's got cheap cups, hasn't he?
yeah,
Just slag him
the
off
handle,
for his cups.
the handle, same happened to you. Didn't it? The handle, whilst I was
Yeah.
washing up, it was actually in the water. It just came off.
Yeah.
Luckily, it didn't fall off. But when I say fall off, it just went dunk, and there it was.
Yeah.
But
Cheap rubbish.
now, when's Gosford talk? Now, has that happened? Is it going to happen?
Oh,
This talk,
yeah. Well, yeah. We spoke. That talk's done in Gosforth, and that venue's now shut down, sadly. So we'll probably be looking for different places. We're open to offers, by the way, if anyone wants, you know, to listen to our presentations. And I know sometimes we'll go off on mad tangents on your chat show here, but the last talk I did just last week was entitled "The Wheel of Truth," and I spoke about tarot cards, but not as a divination tool, but as an understand, because the tarot cards are actually a great tool, a learning tool to learn about the human psyche, the various archetypal influences that we have in our own lives, and also as a tool for teaching the tenets of natural law. So that was my talk the other night. Nathan was talking about the shape of the earth, flat or round. But if you missed it, you know, you're going to have to guess the outcome to that one.
That's someone's just said. That's a long shot, Nathan.
Oddly enough, my missus has been away for a while as well. What's going on?
Well, but anyway, so this is what's coming up in the future. Tomorrow night, we're going to do something you might be interested in, actually, a leap of faith.
Oh,
wow.
Now,
Patrick, we did a fantastic, well, I know self-praise is no praise, but I'm praising Nathan and I call him Anorak, Paul.
Yeah.
Did a fantastic show on Flat Earth or Round Earth, because I wanted to prove that gentlemen, and I mean gentlemen, can have a difference of opinion, respect each other's difference of opinion, and put it over in a way that people learn. And at the end of the show, they go, well, they both had a point there. Now, Nathan wanted to do a show of Catholic and Protestantism. But the problem, I mean, my parents were Protestant, but my dad wasn't particularly religious. My mum was a bit. I never went to Sunday school, never went to church, and I've never read the Bible, and my knowledge of religion is zilch.
Right.
Now, tomorrow night, Patrick's coming on the second hour. Paul English is coming on. I don't know if you want to come on. I think we might just be a discussion. That's all, a polite discussion.
Yeah, sure.
So that might be of interest. I don't know. It's on the radio.
Yeah, I mean, if I get the chance, I'll be quite honest and upfront. I mean, I study religion. I have a feeling, and again, because I don't fully know what Paul's and Patrick's views are entirely, but I have a feeling they might be quite, what's the word? Quite unimpressed with my stance on religion as a whole. No, you know, not just Catholic, Protestant thing.
I think it's control, but I do believe that there's an energy, but I don't know what that energy is. But there's certain weird things that I don't know, I've always said, I would never stand on a grave, ever. Anybody. I would never step on a grave, and I won't step into a fairy ring. And these things, I don't know where I got it from, but, and if I do accidentally with one foot go on a grave, if there's a wedding or something like that, I'll bow and apologise.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's disrespect for the dead. But I do believe there's an energy. I do believe that there is something like attracts like, and negative attracts negative. And there's a lot of the teachings of Buddha I'm rather interested in, although I'm not a Buddhist. I'm not really anything, really. I'm just sort of, I don't know, it's for other people to judge whether I'm spiritual or not, because it would be conceited for me to say I'm spiritual. It's for other people to judge that. I mean, but Paul, I don't want to describe, now, Patrick he goes to church, he's a Catholic. Paul English, he doesn't believe in church, but he believes in what the Bible, he said the Bible is misinterpreted. He said it's a very good book. I don't know because I've never read it. But it's a very good book. So, and there's me that believes there's a bit airy-fairy, a bit of a hippie that says, I don't go to church or anything like that, but I believe there's an energy, but I don't know what it is. So there we go. So there's those.
Yeah. I mean, again, without knowing Paul's particular slant, I mean, if the Bible, for example, if you understand the esoteric allegories encoded within it, then a lot of it makes sense, and it makes more sense than the literal everyday understanding, which, again, has been used to exploit people since time immemorial. But the esoteric aspects, yes, spot on. Haven't got a problem with that whatsoever. Sadly, this falls under a category of occult knowledge known as, or an occult leaning known as the esoteric leaning, which is not widely known to many people. It's for the inner initiates, the enlightened ones. The exoteric understanding, which is generally what is religion falls under, is the slightly less informed opinion and knowledge used by the majority. So there's a massive shift in understanding between the esoteric and the exoteric. So if it's the esoteric stuff that people are interested in, I'm quite happy to talk about that. But sadly, knowledge of that and that understanding usually falls outside the comfort zone of those who are still in the exoteric mind space for that.
Well, why not put your 10 pence within? I mean, what's going to happen? Paul will be joining us after 9 o'clock. It'll be me and Patrick. I can't say much about religion because I know it's I'm pretty weak on it. I know bugger all about it.
Yeah.
So, and Patrick is a gentleman. He was you're a gentleman. We're all gentlemen. I'm really, really, really lucky to have people like yourselves.
All right.
That I know will come on
Thank
and make
you.
it a show, because I know that you won't interrupt Patrick and Patrick won't interrupt you. You listen to what he's got to say. Bloody brilliant, and this is what I show, that not only gentlemen but ladies can as well. Ladies can come on and be ladylike and give their point of view. And I want to have some lady subjects as well that can come on.
Brilliant, yeah, quite right.
And why not? I mean, another one that Holly's come up with was, but there's a big problem with this, difference between GERM theory and terrain, and, nobody I know of is into GERM.
Right, okay.
I was going to get Dawn on for that, for the terrain.
Well, I mean, she's got her book's outstanding, by the way.
It is.
But
I was wondering, there's the hospital porter chappie.
Ben Emlyn Jones.
He might be germ. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'll have a word with him, because it'd be nice to have the both sides. But I would have to grit my teeth on that one to be neutral.
Yeah, fair one. Do you know what I mean? It might not be possible, but obviously my background is military, so I would be quite happy to debate the entire British Army in the aspects of morality. All 80,000 men, I would debate the entire British Army on aspects of morality. I would
Not sure
debate the
how we do
entire
that.
British. Yeah, exactly. But I'd equally debate anybody in the army, reference the legitimacy of government, and equally I'd do this exact same with the entire UK police force. If the entire police force of Britain wants to debate me on the fundamental difference between right and wrong, I will quite happily put them in their place. And I'll try to be even polite and professional about it. I'll not call them muppets.
That would be brilliant. And also, of course, Nathan, because Nathan's knowledge of religion, he's welcome on.
Mm. Oh, yeah,
well.
yeah. I mean,
Now, as I say, if he wants to come on,
he's at a level above me.
well, he's a level way above me because I mean, all I know about religion, I got kicked out of assembly for saying I saw Esau sitting on a seesaw. So stop saying those things. Get out, boy.
Yeah.
Naughty boy. Anyway,
Yeah.
we better zoom it on. I need to have a little word after the show. So, and thank you so much, everybody, for coming on tonight. It was a last-minute thing. Thank you, Nathan. And by the way, has he run out of toilet roll? Is he shouting, there's a toilet roll? Sorry, there's only one sheet here, Could be. And
I bet he's in the fridge drinking beer.
He could be. Thanks a million, Steve, for coming on. And you're coming on future shows as well, along with Nathan as well. People will be on. And it just leaves me to say thank you for joining us tonight. And whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh. And good night.
Thanks. See you guys. Thanks in chat. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for watching the show. And if you could kindly put the thumbs up, I'd be really grateful. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps a lot. And of course, if you're feeling a little bit generous, you could always buy me a coffee. Details are down in the description box. And also, why not pop in to see my Telegram channel, which again is down in the description box, which you can link onto, and Facebook as well. And thank you very much, and either good night, good morning, or good afternoon,